How's everybody doing? Come on, let's get the energy up. How's everybody doing? Good, good. I know we just came off a nice meditation, but we need to get the energy up and we need to hold it for the rest of the day until the party, right? Cool. So my name is Jullien Gordon. I'm glad to be here, and they're getting my deck set up. And today we're going to talk about redefining better, and I'm going to share with you how I actually redefine one word in my life that has fundamentally changed the way my life has gone by redefining success. Okay, it's taking 1 second. Well, thank you for being here on a Friday and committing your time and space, energy and space to come to this space. We're glad to have you, and I hope that this first presentation actually just sets up the rest of the day. Some technical issues. Apple never has technical issues, right? Genius Bar, where are you? Well, I'll just start talking a little bit about myself. Yeah, I have the clicker. I'm originally from Oakland, California, and I've been in Brooklyn, New York for about 4.5 years now. Just got engaged a month ago. Thank you, to a beautiful, beautiful lady. Now I'm thinking about how expensive that wedding is going to be. It doesn't have to be, thank you. I hope she's watching and hope she heard that. But yeah, I'm in Bed-Stuy. Came from Oakland, went to uCLA for undergrad, went to Stanford for business school, and decided to get out of my comfort zone and shake it up and come to the East Coast. I didn't realize that Brooklyn was a sister city of Oakland, so I thought I was getting out of my comfort zone, and I ended up feeling like I was at home. So a lot of people from Oakland. Anybody from Oakland out there? Yes. Shout outs. Bay Area in general? No? A couple? Okay, good, good, good. I can't see you guys. I want to connect. I want to see you smile. How did I propose? Great question. So I was it was October 21st, and I had a client out in LA, and we were flying out to LA together. I had all her friends on the West Coast and my friends on the West Coast actually disguise themselves in baggage claim at LAX. And so we get to LAX, I stall in the bathroom so they can all get set up and everything, and we come out together, and I dropped these beads that, or gems that she had from here, and she's looking on the ground, and we're at baggage claim. She's looking on the ground. She's like, what is going on? And while she's looking on the ground, I'm getting down on one knee over here, and then her friends start popping out. She's like, wait, what are you doing here? And what are you doing here? And she looks around at me, and there I am on bended knee. I pop the question, pop the ring. She says yes, and all goes well from there. So, so everybody at baggage claim was involved. JetBlue Flight 677 lands at midnight, Friday, LAX, JFK. So we're happy about that. Now she wants to set up a date really quickly. Like, slow down. Any other questions? Come on, send them up. How do we meet? House party in Brooklyn. How else? House party in Brooklyn. Yep. We're good. Yeah. Woo! Yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So today I want to talk about this notion of I have a dream too. 57 years ago, Martin Luther King gave his famous I have a dream speech, right? And it was on the March on Washington for jobs and freedom. And here we are 57 years later with the same predicament at hand. But the leadership model that existed back then was for one person to have a dream and for everybody else to follow. And so the notion I want to introduce today is that I have a dream too. I know that you have a dream too. I know we collectively have a dream. And that dream is a little bit different than the dream that was articulated so beautifully on that day 57 years ago. And sometimes when we refer back to the past for our language, the language from the past doesn't actually give us the new possibilities that we can actually foresee in the future. And sometimes we need to manipulate language or use new language to actually create a new possibility for what we actually want. Now, in that speech, Martin Luther King said something pretty powerful, which was, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check that is returned back with insufficient funds. And if he was here today, 57 years in the future, I think he would articulate it like this. The American people have given Americans a bad credit card, and we have maxed it out, right? So the thing is, as we are navigating this particular environment that we're in, a lot has changed, and we've also always been committed to this notion of change, but what we really need is transformation in order to move our world forward. And when I speak of America, I don't speak of America just in the form of government. I don't speak of America in the form of big corporations. I speak of America as our collective consciousness and idea of what it means to have the American dream. So we bought into this notion that in order to have the American dream, all you had to do was just add money. That was the formula for the American dream. And as a result, we bought into this notion that the stock market was just going to increase by 10% every year forever. And we started consuming the things that we thought we valued or think we have value faster than we were actually creating value as individuals and collectively as a country. And so you could find someone who has done everything that they're supposed to do. Someone who's gone to college, gone and took a professional services job, find them almost $500,000 in debt, right? But yet they've done everything that they're supposed to. Yet somebody who has a net worth of zero is actually more valuable than this person. Of course, their earning potential is higher given their education and their future opportunities, but their net worth is actually low at this point in their life at the age of 30. And here's an example of the way that we use language very loosely. The moment someone signs a mortgage and we give them the keys, we call them a homeowner. When in fact, you're not really a homeowner until you've paid off the entire mortgage. And so we use language loosely, and it gets us caught in certain situations like this. So since Martin Luther King gave that famous speech, the U.S. national debt has actually grown by a multiple of 30. We are at above $15 trillion today. When he gave the speech, we are under $500 billion. And so the economic crisis that is here in America is not only on the government level, but it's also on the individual level. Underemployment and unemployment are at their highest ever. And for me, the conversation is always about unemployment, right? And unemployment in this country is around 10% right now. For young people in the country, it's even higher. But unemployment is actually the result of an underemployed workforce. And 80% of people in the workforce claim that they aren't passionate about their work. Another 60% claim that they actually want to leave their jobs the moment that the economy gets better, if it gets better. So the conversation shouldn't really be about unemployment, because that is actually the result. Instead, we need to talk about underemployment, which is when people drive to work, leave half themselves in the passenger seat, and drag the other half of themselves into the office. And they're not solving problems that they care about. They're not using their passions on a daily basis. And when over half of your economic workforce is moving in that way, it's going to be very difficult to create value long term. And then from there, the nuclear family, or our notions of the nuclear family, have literally exploded. In 2008, boomers made up over half of the divorces. And so we've noticed that the traditional form of the nuclear family of a mother, father, a daughter, and a son doesn't really work the way we thought it would. And so here we are in 2011, and the American dream has essentially gone down the drain. And we have to think about how to actually navigate this dream differently. So I was actually born into the American dream. I had two doctors for parents, an anesthesiologist and an oral surgeon. And all I had to do, based on the luck of the draw that I got, was who I was born to and when I was born unto them. All I had to do was follow the steps, and I was going to be able to have this so-called American dream. So essentially, in many cases, I had the Cosbys, right? And the Cosbys had a doctor, and they had a lawyer, two professionals. But now that I'm here in Brooklyn, I see the brownstones, and Brooklyn was a setting that the Cosbys was in. You know what I realized? I hate the Cosbys. And I may be the only one, but let me tell you why, all right? Let me tell you why. First and foremost, you had a doctor and a lawyer for parents. Why the heck were they always home? Why the heck were they always home? My parents left before I woke up, and they got back late in the evening. I don't know how you could have a doctor and lawyer and always be home. You look out their door, and it was always sunlight. So why the heck were they always home? And then secondly, no argument lasted more than 30 minutes, 20 if you exclude commercials, right? So my parents got divorced when I was 1 year old, because career actually came before family. And so the Cosbys painted this notion of the ideal American family, not just for African Americans, but for all Americans, but they only showed the positive side. They didn't show the flip side of the coin. And so here we have this unrealistic vision of the American dream that everybody has bought into. And so I actually just followed my path of privilege and went to some pretty good institutions. I got to go to uCLA. I spent some time at Stanford where I got my MBA and my Masters. But it was this, at the age of 18, I actually bought a Mercedes-Benz, using my savings from the batting cage and from tutoring to actually buy a Mercedes-Benz that I bought for $3,500 at a used car auction. And why did I buy a Mercedes-Benz? Because both my parents had Mercedes-Benz. So I felt that I bought into this notion that if each generation is supposed to do better than the next, if my parents got a big house by the age of 35, then I had to get one by 30. And if they had a nice car by the age of 25, then I had to get one by 20. So here I am going through life, 18 years old with a Mercedes-Benz, and essentially I'm on cruise control. I'm just following the steps. I'm just following my marching orders based on who I was born to, when I was born unto them, and if I just stay on this path, everything is going to be all right. And I would live the average life, right, or actually above average life based on where I started. But I would go to K through 12, I would go to college, I would get a professional job, I would work for 40 years, retire at 65, and then have this big chunk of time at the end called retirement, and that's where I was supposed to enjoy my life. And that was the path that I was on, and that's the path that many people actually take. And it was on June 17th, 2001, the night the Lakers won their first championship under Shaq and Kobe, that I actually got held up at gunpoint from my car. And I put all my savings into that car. It actually cost, being that it was a European car, it actually cost more to fix than I did to pay for it. And it was gone just like that. And I had rent due, and this was the first time that my bank account had ever hit negative. I basically had insufficient funds. And so it wasn't really about this moment, which I call my magic bullet experience, that really transformed me. It was actually what took place after that. Fortunately, that summer, I was an RA, so I had food and housing taken care of. But in that summer, I started to rethink how I define success. If I would have just got a Honda Civic, I wouldn't have got robbed, right? But I had to think, why did I buy a Mercedes-Benz? And why was I moving unconsciously in this sort of direction? And so I started thinking about this. I started thinking about how I was on this path, and I realized that I was on a path to being extra average. That if I stayed on this path, I would only be marginally better than my parents. Might have a slightly bigger house than them, might have a little bit better income than them, but I didn't want to be extra average. I actually wanted to live an extraordinary life. And so I started thinking about this notion of dream. And when we think about dreaming, dreaming is like this ethereal thing. You can't touch it. I don't know about you, but I don't remember my dreams when I wake up. Some people do. They know them vividly. But dream is this very ethereal thing, and I really wanted to make dream a tangible thing. Everybody says, oh, I want to pursue my dreams. Or at least that's what they say, right? But it's so ethereal and it's so intangible. What does it really mean? So I wanted to make it tangible. So my commitment is to help every American dream awake. Now, we daydream on our day jobs or we dream at night, but where I found myself to be most alive, most engaged, and most fulfilled in life is when I'm dreaming awake, when I'm actually living my dream in the moment like I'm doing right now here in front of you. And so I want to help other people actually do this. And the way I define dream, the acronym that I have for dream, is having your desired relationships, employment, and money. Your desired relationships, employment, and money. And finding your unique balance between these three things. Now, when it comes to your desired relationships, this isn't just about having a significant other, about getting married. I told you that I got engaged, right? It's not just about that. It's about your relationship to yourself, your relationship to your spiritual source. It's about your relationship to your friends, your family, your siblings, to your colleagues, to your kids. All these relationships actually affect our well-being and happiness. So it's thinking about relationships in a holistic way. In regards to employment, I think about desired employment using these three questions. Am I able to create value? Am I being valued? And am I doing work that aligns with my values? Am I able to solve problems that are meaningful, and can I see the results? And am I being recognized, whether that's through pay, promotion, or just awards and affirmation for the contributions I'm making to my organization and the world? And am I doing work that actually aligns with my values? Do I have to compromise my values when I go to work? And so that's how I think about desired employment. And then when it comes to desired money, oftentimes we think more is better. But there are some hidden costs to having more money. Research actually shows that after $75,000 for a household, the marginal impact of more money is very minimal, right? And so the questions I like to ask around money is, what is enough, and do I have enough? That's how I like to think about desired money. So when you look at our parents' generation, or when I look at my parents' generation, Generation X and boomers, they actually pursued their desired relationships, employment, and money sequentially. It was get a good job. That job is going to give me the money. Then I'll let the relationships fill in the gaps. And as a result, that's why many of their relationships or marriages actually ended, because relationships was an after effect, right? For our generation, for millennials, for Generation Y, we actually want these things simultaneously. We want to have our desired relationships, employment, and money at the same time, and we want them to grow together. They don't have to be maxed out at the same time as soon as you graduate from college, but we want them to grow together. But when you look at people's life, most oftentimes, they have two of the three. They may be making a lot of money and have the relationships that they want, but they hate their job. Or they love their job and they have the relationships that they want, but they're not making enough money. And what we're trying to do is actually find a healthy balance, our individual unique balances between all three. So I created a company called the Department of Motivated Vehicles. Sticking with the metaphor of vehicle, I realized that when my car got stolen, that the most important vehicle I had was my life. And my company is a personal professional development company that focuses on teaching motivation to individuals, employees, and teams. Now, the basic premise and the metaphor behind it is that your life is your vehicle to design, drive, and maintain, right? But unfortunately, a lot of people end up backseat driving through life, or they end up driving other people's vehicles. And by other people's vehicles, I mean other people's ideas, other people's visions, other people's dreams, and other people's companies. And my commitment is to get people in the driver's seat of their lives so that they can direct it where they want it to go, not wherever they just happen to end up. And so when you think about a car, imagine what it would be like to drive a car without a dashboard. A dashboard has no functional use in terms of the car actually getting from where it's trying to go, but a dashboard is very important to a car's well-being and its ability to measure the success of its performance. Without a dashboard, you could overheat, you could run out of gas, you wouldn't know when to take your car in for checkup. So a dashboard is actually important because it measures what the vehicle was designed to do. It measures how hard the vehicle is going, how far it's gone, how fast it's going, how hot it is, and how full the tank is. And so when I thought about my own life as a vehicle, I asked myself, what is success to me? And how do I measure it? What is success to me? And what would my dashboard look like? How would I measure success for myself? And when we look at society's dashboard in regards to the American dream, oftentimes society's dashboard is wealth, power, fame, and beauty. But through my work, when I've asked people individually how they define success and how they measure it, they may have one of these things on their particular dashboard, but it doesn't usually look like this. People have unique ways of thinking about success for themselves and how they measure it. So one of the best definitions of success that I found was from Earl Nightingale, father of motivational speaking, and he said, a success is anyone who is realizing a worthy, predetermined ideal because that's what he or she decided to do deliberately, right? So just because someone is where you want to be and they're successful based on what your definition of success is, doesn't mean that they're successful based on what they define as success. And so oftentimes we compare ourselves to others, and success becomes a game of relativity instead of a game of, am I actually living in alignment with my authentic self and what I predetermined that I want to have and where I want it to go. So the way I define success for myself is, am I being who I want to be? Am I doing what I want to do? And do I have enough of what I need to continue being who I want to be and doing what I want to do? So it's actually the alignment of my purpose, my passions, and my profit. And the way I measure my being, my doing, and my having, the way I measure my being is how aligned do I feel with my purpose in every given moment. And that's a feeling that I have. That's the feeling of dreaming awake. How connected am I to my spiritual source, and how grateful am I in a particular moment? In regards to my doing, I measure that by how many lives am I touching, right? Through my speaking, through my consulting, through the books that I've written, through my blog, how many lives am I touching? And I'm fully aware of those things. In regards to my having, I measure that in terms of bread broken. That's food and financially. I love breaking bread with people. I host potluck dinners in my community all of the time because that's something that I really value. That's an experience that I love. I love meeting people on a deep level, and food tends to open people up and allow us to be honest with one another. But I also measure it in terms of creating financial opportunities for myself and others by doing work together through creative partnerships. And so that's how I measure my having. So as we think about redefining the American dream, we need to let go of the old language. We need to let go of what Oxford thinks. We need to let go of what Webster thinks. We need to let go of what our parents think. And we may even need to let go of what Dr. King and other leaders that we've looked to for the past to actually create our own language for the dream that we want going forward. And so when you look at the I Have a Dream speech, Dr. King has some pretty powerful words that he used in there, and this is a tag cloud of that speech, like freedom, dream, nation, satisfied, justice. And based on his use of those words, I'm certain that he had clear understandings of what he was saying and why he was saying them, because he wouldn't use words loosely, especially as a minister. So recently I went through a process over a 30-day period where I chose the 30 most important words to my life that laid the foundation for my life, but that I was using loosely and that I had no conscious definition of, and I listed them. And each day I took one word and I came up with a definition for myself for each word. And I just share with you my definition of success. So here we are today redefining better, right? And better often implies a comparison to somebody else. And where I'm moving my life right now is to a life where I don't measure my success relative to what somebody else has or what someone else is doing, but actually I measure it based on who I am relative to my authentic self and who I know myself truly deep down inside to be. And so as we go forward, we need to really rethink the language that we're using. We need to redefine that language, because it's through new language that we'll be able to create our own individual definitions of the American dream and start to pursue those. So in conclusion, as we think about redefining better will only give us a marginal impact. It'll only give us more of the same or less of the same. And so as we think about redefining better, my last words are, I think we better not. Thank you so much.